Welcome to the program, Yoseph Haddad.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, I want to start with this. You have a fascinating background. You are an Arab Israeli. You appear a ton in Israeli mainstream media. We see you a lot in social media, and you have a really unique message. You are out there defending Israel day in and day out. You're a keyboard warrior, as they call it. How did you arrive at this place?
Well, I think in order for me to answer this question and quickly, I have to go back actually to my childhood. I was born in Haifa, which is the largest mixed city in Israel, raised in Nazareth, which is the largest Arab city in Israel, at least back in a few years ago. And the reason why I'm mentioning Nazareth and Haifa is even though I grew up in Nazareth, I always found myself go to Haifa and play football there. And because Haifa is a mixed city, we played football from all the tapestry of Israel. I mean, there were Jews, Christians, Muslims, Druze, all of us just playing football, and we did not care about the identity or the ethnicity of each and every one of us. We were all Israelis. And because of that, and because of the fact that I grew up playing football with different kids and different communities, and we never looked at it as they are different from me, then we felt equal. And the fact that we felt equal, it allowed me to see the reality of the Israeli society, where you have Jews and Arabs together living. And yes, it's not everything about politics. It could be even more than that. And by the way, we have so many similar things together. And then step by step, we start even getting to know each other in terms of knowing the tradition and the culture of each other. And because of that, the fact that I know very well the tradition and the culture of the Jewish society, of the Muslim society, of the Druze society, and of course of my community, the Christian community, this itself made it possible for me to bridge even more gaps and to realize, understand better each and every community. That's how we do it. That's how we should do it. This is why I call for everybody, learn about the tradition and the cultures of different communities here, and also language. The fact that I know Arabic, the fact that I know Hebrew, and of course English, it definitely helps me to bridge gaps as well. So there you go. This is the best ingredients to do that.
I honestly, it just sounds like the best of what Israel has to offer. And I
Absolutely.
am struck by the fact that, sports can be the great equalizer. Of course, we don't call it football here. You guys play soccer. We have a much better sport that's called football, but that's another discussion for another time.
I just want to tell you, in some cases, I had worse debates whether to call it football or soccer than the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. I want to note something. When you play 90% of the game with your hand, you can't call it football.
Well, you can, and we do. And by the way, welcome to America. We just defy everybody.
I love that. I love it.
Okay, I want to ask you just about the Arab-Israeli community. That's yours, right? That's sort of where you hail from. Nazareth is obviously a hugely important town, and it is in the north of Israel where we have what's known as the Triangle. The Triangle is, of course, home to a lot of the Islamist Arab Israelis, notably the Northern Islamic movement, which has close ties to Hamas. Just, if you would, just tell us a little bit about how the Arab Israeli community has fared over these last, 700 plus days of war. It can't be easy, obviously, for Arab Israelis. Some feel disaffected. Some feel distant from the state. Some, like you, feel closer and, you want to defend it. How does this all break down? How do you read what's happening across the Arab Israeli community?
Well, I think I have a really interesting story that happened on the 7th of October, 2 years ago, regarding to what the Arab Israelis are feeling and their approach toward what's going on since the 7th of October and until today. One of the residents of Nazareth, who actually doesn't like me, in fact, hates me, and hate every thing that I do. He gave me a call around 3 p.m. on the 7th of October. That was about 8.5 hours since the beginning of the attack by Hamas. And I thought, okay, he wants to rub it into me or whatever it is, so I don't want to answer him. After a few times he tried to call me, and I didn't answer. He sent me a message and he said to me, listen, please talk to me. It's not what you think. I got curious. So I answered and I said, maximum, I'll hang up if you start cursing me again or whatever it is. But instead of that, I was really surprised because he said to me, listen, I understand. And the reason why he said I understand, because at that time that we spoke, which is an 8.5 hour after the attack, Hamas was actually in control of part of the southern of Israel. Okay? In fact, only after 50 hours, Israel declared again control of the south of Israel. Meanwhile, at that time, in our heads, we are actually thinking of Hamas occupying the south of Israel and moving towards the center. And at the same time, we have additional thought that if Hassan Nasrallah joins an attack from the north, then Hassan Nasrallah and Yahya Sinwar will shake hands in Tel Aviv. At that point, he said to me, I realized I do not want to live under the authority of a terrorist organization, whether it's Hezbollah or Hamas. I'm good with the Israeli authority. I'm good living here. So I just want you to know that. So this is a very important call that I had that gives me a lot of power after that to go into the Israeli TV and tell them, you will not have, again, what happened in May 2021 when Jews and Arabs clashed inside Israel. And I was so sure about it that I literally said that on the 8th of October, literally 24 hours after the 7th of October. And I said, keep in mind, I will tell you, we will not have clashes between Jews and Arabs. And I was absolutely right. Further than that, after the stories that they came out from the south, where Arabs and Jews helped each other against Hamas, keep in mind, one of the first victims of Hamas on the 7th of October was Awad Darawshi, and he was a paramedic. He was a paramedic. He refused to evacuate. His friends said to him, leave. He said, I can't leave. I need to do my job. I need to save lives. And he was treating Jewish Israelis. So he was among the first victims of Hamas on the 7th of October. And then you have stories like Yoseph Haddad, who saved more than 30 Israelis while bullets were flying over his head. Now, one of the anchors in Israel, she asked him, because he had an interview on the Israeli TV, she asked him, Yosef, you're saying that bullets were flying all over your head. Why didn't you run away? Do you know what was his answer? He said, I am an Israeli, and there were Israelis there. Why would I run away? I have this, by the way, on video. I can send it to you so you can see it yourself and hear it yourself, because this is amazing to show the partnership between Jews and Arabs. And one last example to give you, and that will put a light on what is the radical Islamic movement try to do and what is the reality here in Israel. There's another police officer, Arab Muslim police officer by the name of Remo El-Hozel. Remo El-Hozel put himself in jeopardy when he fought with only one gun, a simple gun, while they have RPGs and they have Kalashnikovs and Uzi and whatever it is. So while they are fighting with heavy ammunition, he's fighting with his own personal gun. And then when he ran out of ammunition, he went and saw 300 Israelis in a danger zone. So he started running, searching for a car that actually is working. He found the car, and then for 3 hours, he kept just evacuating Israelis, literally saving hundreds of Israelis from danger zone. These are the stories that happen between Arabs and Jews in Israel. Now, final sentence, just to wrap it up in terms of what the radicals. That doesn't mean that in my community, the Arab Israeli community, which is 20% of the population in Israel, that doesn't mean that we don't have extremists. We do have extremists, and we need to deal with them with strength and power as much as possible. But what I want everybody to know when you guys seeing me right now is that despite that it seems like they are the majority, they're not. They are the minority. And they seem like the majority because they shout louder, they intimidate you, and they silence the voice just like me by or through intimidation and violence. That's why you hear less voices like me and more voices like them.
Yeah, and I got to say, your voice has been incredible, and I thank you for it. I want to ask you about the Druze and the Bedouin and some of the other minorities. They're Arabs, of course, but they've played a really interesting role in this conflict. The Druze obviously have become, they're front and center because of what's been going on in Syria. Bedouin continue to play a crucial role in the Israeli military and the IDF. So what's happening in those communities?
So let's start from the Bedouin community, because I have another story to tell you there. A few days after the 7th of October, again, one of the top officers in the Bedouin brigade, Gatsal, he sent me a video. And he told me, this video is in Arabic, but I want you to put it on your social media because you have a lot of followers. And I have two messages here. The first message is for the Jewish community in Israel. I want them to know that I am a Muslim, and I not only condemn what Hamas did in the name of Islam, but I'm going to fight Hamas. And the second message was to the Hamas terrorists. How can I put it in his own words? He said, "You guys want to be murderers? No problem. We will take care of that, and we will send you to hell." This is the exact messaging of a Muslim, Arab, Bedouin officer in the IDF. And guess what? His unit, in the first 48 hours since they entered Gaza, eliminated over 100 Nukhba terrorists from Hamas. Those are the elite terrorists of Hamas. Over 100 of them were eliminated by his unit within the first 48 hours. This is unbelievable. And the Bedouin community continues to serve. And right now, as we speak, they are in Gaza or in the border of Kerem Shalom, taking care of security for Israel. As for the Druze community, look, the Druze community suffered a heavy loss since the 7th of October in terms of fighters. IDF fighters. And to that, we must salute to each and every one of them and to their families, the heroes of our society. And we need to understand that the Druze community goes side by side with the Jewish community in the Israeli community at whole. They defend Israel. They love Israel. And in fact, one of the things that I want to see in the Arab society is taking the Druze community as a role model for the Muslim community and for the Christian community. And I can tell you step by step, we're seeing and hearing more voices from the Muslim and the Christian community that want to follow the path of the Druze community. And regarding what's happening in Syria and especially in Sweden, look, what Israel did in Syria, it is historical. To the fact that today you have Syrians, Druze, raising the Israeli flag in Sweden, in Syria. It's unbelievable. But further than that, it made the some of the Druze community who are in the Golan Heights and still had ties in Syria, it made them more confident of being in Israel, Israelis, and proud of their country and the state of Israel. Yeah. That's why it's historical, and that's why, because of the actions of Israel, we actually have a chance to see a better Middle East.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's really interesting. The Israelis obviously now have a seat at the table in some respects in Syria. You're seeing a community we're seeing sort of a bridge, right, between the Druze in Syria, the Druze in Israel. This is making the region, I think, hopefully anyway, more stable over time.
And our borders more secured.
Yes. Oh, without question. I want to ask you maybe a two-part question. I mean, I know you've studied Hamas. You know what they're saying. You know what they're doing. You've been watching their just horrendous conduct throughout this war. And then you get up on Israeli television, and I've seen you speak in Hebrew and end up you're far right of some of these other guests that are appearing on Israeli television, and it's remarkable to see an Arab Israeli hammering away at left of center Israelis. How does that even happen? And how has that worked out for you over the course of these, roughly 2 years? It's been quite a journey for you, from what I can tell.
Well, absolutely, it's an unbelievable journey, and I wish I could have give up that journey if we just delete the 7th of October, but we can't, and we need to learn from the 7th of October. And the thing is that some of the people in the Jewish society, it seems like either they didn't learn or they forgot what happened on the 7th of October, and I'm here to remind them. I just want to sort of correct you on one thing. I don't see myself whether I am in the way that I push back from the far right or right. It is very actually simple. There's no right or left. There's no Arabs or Jews. There's no secular or religion. When it comes to the security of Israel and when it comes to fighting our enemies, you don't have right or left. You don't have Arabs, Jews. You don't have secular or religion. You have what is called a citizen of Israel. And when you are a citizen of Israel, what you need to make sure and to know is do absolutely everything to defend your country. And this is exactly what I'm doing. The problem is, and that's the thing that I'm actually finding a bit of an obstacle, is when I go abroad and then I have sort of a debate with anti-Israel people, with literally anti-Semitic chants. And then they say to me, I don't understand you. They say to me, I don't understand you. You're an Arab. And I hear Jews in Israel speak 180 degrees from what you're presenting. Now, from this point, I need to explain to them why they're speaking like this, what is their motive, what is their agenda, political agenda. And then I find myself push back with facts, which is good. But instead of me focusing on different things, I'm focusing or attacking, I'm focusing on defending. And I'm focusing on defending because of some of the Jewish people in our society. Now, here is my, let's say, a conclusion on that. Look, there are many Israelis from the Jewish society who unfortunately either do not understand the reality of the Middle East and don't realize the mentality of the Middle East. And I keep in mind, I do not want to be like our enemies, but we are a Western country with Western values, and I want to keep those values. But if we do not know how to balance between the fact that we are a Western country and a country in the Middle East, we do not have the right to exist. And this is what I'm trying to say to some of the Jewish people in Israel and tell them we have to balance. So yes, do I want peace? Absolutely. Anyone who sends his hands to shake it and to do peace with me, I will send my hand back and I will shake this firmly. But if you send your hand to hit me, I will cut that hand. And this is the message that I'm trying to say. I want peace, but if you want peace, you need to make sure that your enemies are down on floor and begging for it. That's how it works in the Middle East. And when they do that, or with others who just want to have peace and normalization, open the door. I'm the first one to open that door. So this is what I'm trying to do. And you know what? Some of those so-called journalists, who literally quoting the agenda of the terrorist organization Hamas against the IDF, against their own country. They're doing it just because they are gaining some political gain or whatever it is. So shame on them. But I will, unlike them when they use emotions, lies, and emotions, I use fact. And guess what? Fact, don't care about your emotion.
That's true. Look, I want to commend you for all the great work that you've been doing over the last almost 2 years. Yoseph Haddad, thank you for your time today. Thank you for joining us today on the FTD Morning Brief.
Thank you for having me.
It's 2025. America's debt is over $37 trillion, and the dollar just had its worst crash since 1973. That puts your savings and your family's future at risk. That's why we trust Alpha Omega Gold, a company that stands unapologetically with Israel and supports Stand Tall Israel. Visit ao.gold/stand to claim your free precious metals wayfinder guide or call 1-855-426-4653 today. Protect your future before it's too late.